K9, dog pulls toddler away from park bench. What was taped underneath sent the FBI racing. What happened next will shock you. A simple afternoon at the park turned into a race against time that would expose a threat no one saw coming. Before we dive into this incredible story, drop a comment below and let us know where you're listening from. Your support keeps these amazing stories coming. The story you're about to listen to began on what seemed like the most ordinary Tuesday afternoon in Riverside Park. 5-year-old Ethan sat on his favorite swing, his little legs pumping back and forth, as golden sunlight filtered through the oak trees. His mother Maya watched from a nearby bench, her nurse scrubs still wrinkled from a 12-hour shift at the hospital. She was exhausted, but seeing her son's pure joy made every sleepless night worth it. Next to Maya sat their companion, a massive German shepherd named Rex. 3 years ago, Maya had rescued him from the local shelter, and he'd become Ethan's shadow ever since. Rex had graying fur around his muzzle and a slight limp in his back leg, but his dark eyes remained sharp and alert. The shelter had no records of his past, only that he'd been found wandering alone near the highway. "Higher, Mommy! Push me higher!" Ethan called out, his voice carrying across the quiet park. Maya smiled and stood up, her tired muscles protesting. "Okay, buddy, but just a few more minutes. We need to get home for dinner." As she walked toward the swing set, Rex suddenly lifted his head. His ears perked forward, and a low rumble escaped his throat. Maya glanced back at him, frowning. Rex was staring intently at something across the park, an old wooden bench beneath a cluster of maple trees. "What is it, boy?" Maya asked, but Rex was already on his feet. The dog began pacing, his nose twitching as he sniffed the air. His behavior was strange, almost frantic. Maya had never seen him act this way before. Rex was usually calm and gentle, especially around Ethan. But now his entire body was tense, like a coiled spring ready to snap. Ethan giggled as his swing slowed down. "Can we go sit on the other bench, Mom? The one over there with the flowers?" Maya's blood turned cold. Ethan was pointing directly at the bench Rex was fixated on. "No, sweetheart, let's stay here," she said quickly. But Ethan had already jumped off the swing and was running toward the distant bench. "Race you there," he called over his shoulder. Rex's reaction was instant and terrifying. The massive dog shot forward like a bullet, his paws thundering against the grass. Maya's heart stopped as she watched Rex intercept her son just feet away from the bench. But instead of knocking Ethan down, Rex gently but firmly grabbed the boy's shirt with his teeth and pulled him backward. "Rex, no!" Maya shouted, running toward them. "Let him go!" But Rex wasn't hurting Ethan. Instead, he was pulling the confused little boy away from the bench, his tail low and his body rigid with tension. Ethan looked up at his four-legged friend with wide eyes. "Why won't Rex let me sit down?" Ethan asked, his voice small and confused. Maya reached them, breathing hard. She knelt down and hugged Ethan close, but her eyes were on Rex. The dog was still staring at the bench, his lips pulled back in a silent snarl. Something was wrong, very wrong. "I don't know, baby," Maya whispered, smoothing Ethan's hair. "But Rex is a smart dog. If he doesn't want you near that bench, maybe we should listen to him." As if on cue, a faint sound drifted across the evening air. Maya's blood froze as she recognized it, a soft, rhythmic beeping. It was coming from underneath the bench. "Ethan, we need to leave, right now," Maya said, trying to keep the panic out of her voice. "But why, Mommy?" "Because Rex says so, and Rex is never wrong." Maya scooped Ethan into her arms and backed away from the bench, Rex staying close beside them. The beeping grew slightly louder, and Maya's nursing training kicked in. She'd heard that sound before in the hospital. Medical devices had timers, alarms, countdowns. With shaking hands, she pulled out her phone and dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency?" "I'm at Riverside Park with my son," Maya said, her voice barely steady. "There's something under one of the benches that's making a beeping sound. My dog won't let us get close to it." "Ma'am, can you describe the sound?" "It's regular, like a timer, every 2 seconds. Maya's voice cracked. "Please, I think something's wrong." The dispatcher's tone immediately changed. "Ma'am, I need you to evacuate the area immediately. Do not approach the bench. Officers are on their way." Maya didn't need to be told twice. She carried Ethan toward the parking lot, Rex trotting alongside them. Behind them, that steady beeping continued, each sound making Maya's heart race faster. "Mommy, you're squeezing too tight," Ethan complained. "Sorry, baby," Maya loosened her grip but didn't slow down. We're just gonna wait by the car for a little bit. As they reached Maya's old Honda, the first police car pulled into the parking lot, sirens wailing. Within minutes, the quiet park was transformed into a scene from a crime drama. Police cars, fire trucks, and an ambulance filled the lot. Officers began setting up a perimeter, keeping curious neighbors and joggers at a safe distance. A young police officer approached Maya. "Ma'am, are you the one who called this in?" "Yes," Maya nodded, bouncing Ethan nervously in her arms. "It's under the bench over there. The beeping." The officer looked at Rex, who was still alert and focused on the distant bench. "Your dog detected this?" "He wouldn't let my son sit on the bench. He's never acted like this before." "What kind of training does your dog have?" Maya hesitated. "I don't know. I adopted him from the shelter 3 years ago. They didn't have any records." The officer made a note, then spoke into his radio. "We need the bomb squad. Possible explosive device at Riverside Park." Maya's knees nearly gave out. "Bomb? We're not taking any chances, ma'am. That beeping you described, it could be a timer." 20 minutes later, a black SUV pulled up, and Maya watched as specialists in heavy protective gear approached the bench. The park had been completely evacuated except for the bomb squad and a few police officers. Maya, Ethan, and Rex waited behind police barriers 2 blocks away. "Is Rex in trouble?" Ethan asked, petting the dog's head. "No, sweetheart. Rex is a hero," Maya said, though her voice was tight with worry. Through binoculars provided by an officer, Maya watched the bomb squad work. They used a robot to approach the bench first, and what they found made Maya's blood run cold. Taped underneath the bench was a package wrapped in silver foil, about the size of a shoebox. "We've got a device," came the crackling voice over the police radio. "Appears to be homemade. We're going to detonate it safely." The controlled explosion shook the ground even from 2 blocks away. Ethan pressed his face against Maya's shoulder, and Rex whined softly, but the danger wasn't over. 10 minutes later, the bomb squad leader approached the command post where Maya was waiting. His face was grim. "Ma'am, we need to ask you some questions about your dog." "Why? What did you find?" The device was more than just a bomb. There was an envelope inside, sealed in waterproof plastic. The contents are concerning. Maya felt Rex tense beside her. The dog was staring at the bomb squad leader with an intensity that made her uncomfortable. "What kind of contents?" "Documents, military-grade intelligence, plans for multiple targets." The officer paused. "Your dog? Where exactly did you get him?" "Valley View Animal Shelter. 3 years ago. Why?" "Because what we found suggests this wasn't random. Someone wanted that package found. And your dog. He reacted like he was trained to detect this specific type of device." Maya's world tilted. "That's impossible. Rex is just a family pet." "Ma'am, dogs don't forget their training, especially not military or police training." The officer knelt down and looked at Rex carefully. "What's his full name?" "Just Rex. That's what the shelter called him." The officer pulled out his phone and made a call. Maya could only hear one side of the conversation, but the words she caught made her stomach churn. "Missing K9 unit. Disappeared 3 years ago. Handler went missing." When he hung up, the officer's expression was even more serious. "We need to contact the FBI. This case just became federal." Maya looked down at Rex, who was still staring at the scene of the controlled explosion. For the first time since she'd adopted him, she wondered who this dog really was. And more importantly, who was he before he became their family pet? "Mommy," Ethan said quietly, "Rex is shaking." Maya looked down and saw that Ethan was right. Rex was trembling, but not from fear. It was something else entirely. Recognition, memory, like he'd been here before, in a situation just like this. As FBI vehicles began arriving at the scene, Maya realized their quiet life was about to change forever. The bomb under the bench was just the beginning. Rex hadn't just saved Ethan's life. He'd uncovered something much bigger and more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. The beeping had stopped, but Maya had a feeling that the real countdown was just beginning. Within 30 minutes, Riverside Park looked like a scene from a military operation. Black SUVs with tinted windows lined the streets, and agents in dark suits moved with purpose between the vehicles. Maya clutched Ethan closer as she watched the transformation of their peaceful neighborhood into what looked like a war zone. Agent Sarah Chen approached them, her badge gleaming in the fading sunlight. She was young, maybe early 30s, with sharp eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. "Mrs. Rodriguez, I'm Agent Chen with the FBI. We need to talk about your dog." Maya's mouth went dry. "What about him?" "The documents we recovered from that device. They're not just random threats. They're part of a coordinated domestic terrorism plot that we've been tracking for 2 years." Agent Chen knelt down to Rex's level. The moment she did, Rex's entire demeanor changed. His ears perked up, his back straightened, and he sat at perfect attention. It was like watching a switch flip inside him. "Interesting," Agent Chen murmured. "Rex, heel." To Maya's shock, Rex immediately moved to Agent Chen's left side and sat in perfect formation. "How did you know to do that?" Maya asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Because Rex isn't just any dog. His real name is Canine Officer Ranger, and he's been missing for 3 years. Agent Chen stood up, her expression grave. Along with his handler, Detective Marcus Webb. The world seemed to tilt around Maya. She set Ethan down, but kept a firm grip on his hand. "That's impossible. I adopted him from the shelter. They said he was a stray." "Mrs. Rodriguez, I need you to think very carefully. In the 3 years you've had Rex, has he ever behaved strangely? Reacted to specific sounds, smells, or situations in ways that seemed unusual for a regular pet?" Maya's mind raced back through the years. There had been incidents, times when Rex would become alert during certain TV shows, especially news reports about crimes or emergencies. He'd pace during thunderstorms, not because he was scared, but like he was waiting for orders. And there was that time last year when construction workers were using jackhammers near their house, and Rex had led Ethan to the basement and wouldn't let him leave until the noise stopped. "He's always been protective," Maya said slowly, "but I thought that was just his personality." "Mrs. Rodriguez, Rex was trained to detect explosives, drugs, and missing persons. His disappearance 3 years ago was part of a larger case that went cold." Agent Chen pulled out a tablet and showed Maya a photo. "This is Detective Marcus Webb, Rex's original handler." The photo showed a man in his early 40s with kind eyes and a warm smile. He was kneeling next to a younger-looking Rex, both of them wearing police gear. But what caught Maya's attention was the man's expression. It was the same look of gentle protection that she'd seen in Rex's eyes countless times. "What happened to him?" Maya asked. Detective Webb was investigating a domestic terrorism cell called the Crimson Dawn. They were planning attacks on soft targets, parks, schools, community centers, places where families gather. Agent Chen's voice grew heavy. "Webb got too close to the truth. One day, he and Rex just vanished. We found his patrol car abandoned near the state border, but no trace of either of them." Ethan tugged on Maya's hand. "Mommy, why is the lady talking about Rex like he's a police dog?" Maya looked down at her son, then back at Rex. The dog was still sitting at attention next to Agent Chen, looking every bit the trained officer he apparently was. "Because he is a police dog, sweetheart," Maya said softly. "We just didn't know it." Agent Chen continued. "The documents we found in that device contain detailed plans for attacks on 12 different locations across 3 states. But here's what's strange. Riverside Park wasn't on the original list." "What does that mean?" "It means someone added it later. Someone who knew that Rex would be here. Someone who wanted that package found." A chill ran down Maya's spine. "You think Detective Webb put it there?" "It's possible. The handwriting on some of the documents matches samples from Webb's case files. But there's something else." Agent Chen showed Maya another photo on her tablet. This was taken by a security camera at a gas station 50 miles from here, 2 days ago. The image was grainy, but Maya could make out a figure in a baseball cap pumping gas. Next to him stood a German Shepherd that looked remarkably like Rex. "Is that—" "We think it might be Detective Webb. And if it is, then he's been alive all this time, hiding, watching, waiting for the right moment to expose the Crimson Dawn." Maya felt like the ground was shifting beneath her feet. But why would he give Rex to a shelter? Why would he let us adopt him? Because Rex was in danger. The Crimson Dawn knew about him, knew his training. Webb probably thought that the only way to keep Rex safe was to hide him in plain sight, as a family pet. Rex suddenly stood up and walked over to Ethan, nuzzling the little boy's hand. Ethan giggled and wrapped his arms around the dog's neck. "He's still our Rex, isn't he?" Ethan asked, looking up at his mother with worried eyes. Maya's heart broke at the innocence in her son's voice. "Yes, baby, he's still our Rex." But even as she said the words, Maya knew everything had changed. Rex, Ranger, wasn't just their family pet. He was a trained police dog with a mysterious past, and somehow that past had just caught up with all of them. Agent Chen's radio crackled to life. "Agent Chen, we've got movement at the Webb residence. Somebody's inside." Maya's blood froze. The Webb residence? Detective Webb's old house. It's been empty since he disappeared, but our surveillance team just spotted lights inside. Agent Chen spoke into her radio. "I'm en route. Don't approach until I get there." She turned back to Maya. "Mrs. Rodriguez, I need you and your son to come with us. If Detective Webb is alive, and if he's the one who planted that device, then you're both in potential danger." "Why us?" "Because whoever's behind this knows about Rex now. They know he found the device, and they know he's with you. That makes you targets." Maya felt panic rising in her chest. "What kind of danger?" "The Crimson Dawn doesn't leave loose ends. If they think you know something, or if they want to get to Rex..." Agent Chen didn't finish the sentence, but she didn't need to. As they walked toward the waiting FBI vehicles, Maya noticed Rex's behavior changing again. His head was up, scanning the area, and his body was tense with alertness. This wasn't the relaxed family dog she'd known for 3 years. This was a trained officer, ready for action. "Mommy," Ethan whispered, "Rex smells something." Maya looked down at her son. "What do you mean?" "He gets that look when he smells something important, like when you burn dinner or when there's a storm coming." Agent Chen overheard and immediately stopped walking. "Rex, what is it?" Rex's nose was twitching, and he was staring at a cluster of trees near the parking lot. Suddenly, he barked once, a sharp, commanding sound that Maya had never heard him make before. "Everyone down!" Agent Chen shouted, pulling Maya and Ethan behind a police car. The shot came from the trees, the bullet striking the pavement where they'd been standing just seconds before. More FBI agents appeared from behind vehicles, their weapons drawn, shouting commands into their radios. "We've got a shooter in the tree line," Agent Chen called out. "Rex found him before he could get a clean shot." Maya hugged Ethan tightly as chaos erupted around them. More shots were fired, but Rex had given them the warning they needed. The FBI agents moved with precision, surrounding the wooded area. Within minutes, the shooting stopped. Maya could hear shouting from the trees, then the sound of someone being taken into custody. "We got him," came the voice over Agent Chen's radio. "White male, approximately 40 years old, carrying identification for Thomas Garrett." Agent Chen's face went pale. Thomas Garrett was Detective Webb's partner. He disappeared the same day Webb did. Maya felt sick. His partner tried to kill us? "Mrs. Rodriguez, I think Detective Webb didn't just disappear 3 years ago. I think he was betrayed by someone he trusted. And now that person knows Rex is alive." As they waited for the all-clear, Maya watched Rex carefully. The dog was still alert, still scanning the area, but there was something else in his eyes now. Recognition. Like pieces of a puzzle were falling into place in his canine mind. "Agent Chen," Maya said quietly, "what if Detective Webb didn't plant that device to expose the terrorists? What if he planted it to protect Rex?" "What do you mean? What if he knew his partner was dirty? What if he knew Thomas Garrett was working with the Crimson Dawn, and he hid that information under the bench knowing that Rex would find it someday?" Agent Chen was quiet for a long moment. That would mean Detective Webb has been planning this for 3 years, waiting for the right moment to expose the truth. And it would mean he's been watching over Rex all this time, making sure he was safe. As if summoned by their conversation, Agent Chen's phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. "Rex found the truth. Now find me before they do. The barn behind Miller's farm. Come alone, or they'll kill us all. M.W." Agent Chen showed Maya the message. Detective Webb is alive, and he wants to meet. Maya looked at Rex, who was now staring directly at Agent Chen's phone like he could read the message himself. "He knows, doesn't he?" Maya asked. "Rex knows his handler is alive." "Dogs never forget," Agent Chen said softly. "Especially not dogs like Rex." As FBI vehicles prepared to move out toward Miller's farm, Maya realized that the bomb under the bench hadn't been the end of the mystery. It had been the beginning. Detective Webb was alive, his partner was a traitor, the Crimson Dawn was real, and somehow she and Ethan were now at the center of it all. But the most unsettling thought was this. If Detective Webb had been watching them for 3 years, what else did he know? And what other dangers were heading their way? Rex looked up at Maya one more time, and she could swear she saw an apology in his eyes. as if he knew that their quiet life was over and that everything was about to change forever. What do you think Detective Webb has been hiding all these years, and why did his own partner try to kill them? Drop your theories in the comments below. Miller's farm sat 15 miles outside town, a collection of weathered buildings surrounded by overgrown fields. The main house had been abandoned for years, but behind it stood an old red barn that looked like it had seen better decades. As the FBI convoy approached in the growing darkness, Maya felt her stomach twist with anxiety. Agent Chen had insisted that Maya and Ethan stay in the vehicle while she investigated, but Rex had other ideas. The moment they parked, the German Shepherd became agitated, whining and pawing at the car door. "He wants out," Ethan observed, pressing his face against the window. "Rex knows something we don't," Maya said, watching the dog's behavior carefully. Agent Chen opened the car door to speak with them, and Rex immediately bolted toward the barn. 3 FBI agents tried to intercept him, but Rex was faster and more determined than they expected. "Let him go," Agent Chen called out. "He's leading us exactly where we need to be." The barn doors stood partially open, and Rex disappeared inside without hesitation. Agent Chen and her team followed carefully, weapons drawn, while Maya and Ethan waited in the vehicle with 2 other agents. Minutes passed like hours. Maya could see flashlight beams moving inside the barn, but no sounds emerged. Then, suddenly, Rex reappeared in the doorway, but he wasn't alone. A man stepped out behind him, tall, thin, with graying hair and a face marked by 3 years of hiding. Even from a distance, Maya could see the resemblance to the photo Agent Chen had shown her. Detective Marcus Webb was alive, but he wasn't the only surprise waiting in that barn. Agent Chen's voice crackled over the radio to the agents guarding Maya. "We need the paramedics. We've got an injured civilian, and you're not going to believe who it is." 20 minutes later, Maya watched as paramedics wheeled a stretcher from the barn. The person on it was conscious but clearly weak, a woman with short dark hair and intelligent eyes that reminded Maya of someone she couldn't quite place. Detective Webb walked beside the stretcher, his hand resting protectively on Rex's head. The reunion between dog and handler was quiet but profound. Rex stayed pressed against Webb's leg, as if afraid his person might disappear again. Agent Chen approached Maya's vehicle. "Mrs. Rodriguez, there's someone Detective Webb wants you to meet." They helped the injured woman sit up on the stretcher as Maya and Ethan approached. Up close, Maya could see that the woman was probably in her 30s, with the kind of sharp intelligence that reminded her of Agent Chen. "Maya Rodriguez," the woman said with a weak smile, "I've been watching over your family for 3 years. My name is Dr. Emma Kane, and I'm the reason Rex ended up at that shelter." Maya felt the world tilt again. "What?" Detective Webb stepped forward, his voice rough from years of hiding. "Dr. Kane is a cybersecurity expert who was working undercover to expose the Crimson Dawn. She's also the person who saved Rex's life when Thomas Garrett tried to kill him." "I don't understand," Maya said, looking between them. Dr. Kane struggled to sit up straighter. 3 years ago, Detective Webb discovered that his partner Thomas Garrett was feeding information to the Crimson Dawn. But Garrett found out that Webb knew. He ambushed us both. "I was supposed to die that night," Webb added quietly. "Garrett shot me and left me for dead. He would have killed Rex too, but Emma got there first." "I'd been tracking Garrett's communications with the terrorist cell," Dr. Kane explained. "When I realized what was happening, I raced to help, but I was too late to save Detective Webb from being shot. I managed to get Rex away from the scene, but I was wounded in the process." Maya looked at the bandages visible under Dr. Kane's shirt. "You've been hurt all this time?" "Garrett's bullet damaged my spine. I've been paralyzed from the waist down ever since, but that didn't stop me from continuing the investigation." Agent Chen pulled out her tablet and showed Maya a series of photographs. "Dr. Kane has been living in a specially modified cabin behind this barn. She's been monitoring the Crimson Dawn's activities while Detective Webb recovered from his injuries." "I faked my own death," Webb said. "It was the only way to protect Rex and continue the investigation without Garrett knowing. Emma took Rex to the shelter under a false identity, then made sure a good family would adopt him." Maya's mind reeled. "You chose us?" Dr. Kane smiled weakly. "I researched dozens of families before I found yours. Single mother, works in healthcare, strong moral character, lives in a quiet neighborhood, and most importantly, I could tell you would love Rex as much as he deserved." "But you've been watching us," Maya said. feeling a mix of gratitude and unease. From a distance, Webb assured her, we needed to make sure Rex was safe and happy, but we also needed to make sure the Crimson Dawn didn't find him. Why was Rex so important to them? Maya asked. Dr. Kane and Webb exchanged glances. Because Rex doesn't just detect explosives, Dr. Kane explained. He was specially trained to detect a specific chemical compound that the Crimson Dawn uses in their homemade bombs. It's their signature, their calling card. Rex was the only dog in the country with that specific training, Webb added. If they'd gotten hold of him, they could have tested their bombs against his detection abilities. They could have developed explosives that no other K9 unit could find. Agent Chen's radio crackled. Agent Chen, we've got a problem. Thomas Garrett isn't talking, but we found something in his car. Maps of 12 different locations, and they're all marked with today's date. Maya felt ice in her veins. Today's date? The attack on Riverside Park wasn't meant to hurt anyone, Webb said grimly. It was a test. They wanted to see if Rex could still detect their explosives after 3 years away from active duty. And now they know he can, Dr. Kane added. Agent Chen spoke into her radio. What are the 12 locations? Schools, parks, and shopping centers across 3 states. All places that will be crowded on a Saturday afternoon. Maya looked at her watch. It was Friday evening. They're planning to attack tomorrow? Webb nodded. The device under the bench contained the final instructions. Each location has a bomb hidden somewhere in plain sight. The Crimson Dawn has been planning this coordinated attack for 3 years. But why reveal their plans now? Agent Chen asked. Dr. Kane answered. Because they're ready to disappear. After tomorrow's attacks, the surviving members plan to flee the country. They wanted to eliminate all witnesses and evidence before they left. Including Rex, Webb said, his voice hard with anger. Agent Chen's radio buzzed again. Agent Chen, we need to evacuate those 12 locations immediately. But there's another problem. We don't know exactly where the devices are hidden at each site. Maya looked at Rex, who had been listening to the entire conversation with alert attention. But Rex could find them, couldn't he? Theoretically, yes, Webb said, but it would mean putting him in danger. And there's no guarantee we could get to all 12 locations in time. How much time do we have? Maya asked. Dr. Kane checked her watch. The attacks are scheduled for 2 p.m. tomorrow, peak Saturday afternoon crowds. That gives us 18 hours. Agent Chen was already on her phone, coordinating with FBI field offices across 3 states. We're mobilizing every available agent, but we'll need K9 units at each location. The problem is, Webb said, most K9 units aren't trained to detect this specific compound. Rex is still the only dog who can reliably find these particular explosives. Maya felt the weight of the situation settling on her shoulders. You're saying Rex is the only one who can stop this? Not alone, Dr. Kane said, but he's our best chance of finding the devices quickly and safely. As they talked, Maya noticed Ethan had been unusually quiet. Her 5-year-old son was sitting on the ground next to Rex, his small hand resting on the dog's back. Both of them seemed to be listening intently to every word. Mommy, Ethan said suddenly, Rex wants to help the police stop the bad people. Maya looked down at her son. How do you know that, sweetheart? Because he told me, not with words, but with his eyes, like he always does. Webb knelt down to Ethan's level. You're right, buddy. Rex does want to help, but it's going to be dangerous. Will Rex get hurt? Ethan asked, his eyes wide with worry. Not if I can help it, Webb promised. I've been away from Rex for 3 years, and I'm not going to lose him now. Agent Chen finished her phone calls and rejoined the group. I've got teams standing by at all 12 locations, but they're waiting for us to coordinate the search efforts. We need to move fast. Dr. Kane struggled to adjust her position on the stretcher. There's something else you need to know. The Crimson Dawn has a 13th target that's not on any of the maps we found. What do you mean? Agent Chen asked. I intercepted a communication last week. There's a backup plan, a target they're keeping secret even from most of their own members. If the 12 coordinated attacks fail, they have one final device that's meant to cause maximum casualties. Webb's face went pale. Where? I don't know, but the message mentioned where it all began. Dr. Kane looked directly at Maya. I think they're planning to attack the place where Rex first found their explosives. Maya's blood turned to ice. Riverside Park. During the Saturday afternoon youth soccer games, Dr. Kane confirmed, hundreds of families will be there. Agent Chen was already barking orders into her radio. I need full evacuation of Riverside Park starting immediately, and I want bomb squads at all entrances. But Webb shook his head. If we evacuate the park, they'll know we're on to them. They'll move up their timeline and detonate all 13 devices simultaneously. So, what do we do? Maya asked. We split up, Webb said. Rex and I will take the locations closest to here. Agent Chen, you coordinate the teams at the other sites, and Dr. Kane will monitor communications from her equipment in the barn. What about Maya and Ethan? Agent Chen asked. Webb looked at Maya seriously. Mrs. Rodriguez, I won't lie to you. The safest place for you and your son is in FBI protective custody, far away from here. Maya looked down at Rex, then at Ethan, then back at Webb. Rex has been protecting my son for 3 years. Now it's time for us to help protect other people's children. Maya, no, Agent Chen said. It's too dangerous. Rex knows me and Ethan. He trusts us. If you're going to ask him to do something this dangerous, he needs his family with him. Webb was quiet for a long moment, studying Maya's face. Finally, he nodded. You're right. Rex will work better with his pack intact. Dr. Kane reached out and squeezed Maya's hand. I've been watching your family for 3 years. I know how much courage you have, but please, be careful. As the FBI teams prepared to deploy to 12 different locations across 3 states, Maya realized that their quiet life was not just over. It had never been real to begin with. For 3 years, they'd been unknowing participants in a much larger story, and now that story was reaching its climax. Rex looked up at Maya with those intelligent brown eyes, and she could swear she saw a question there. Are you ready for this? Maya knelt down and hugged the dog, who had been her son's protector and her family's guardian. We're ready, boy. Let's go save some lives. But as they prepared to leave Miller's farm, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that the Crimson Dawn had one more surprise waiting for them. And this time, it might be more than even Rex could handle. The clock was ticking, and 13 bombs were waiting to explode. But the biggest shock was still coming, and it would change everything Maya thought she knew about her quiet life. If you had to choose between keeping your family safe and helping to save hundreds of strangers, what would you do? Tell us in the comments. The first location was Meadowbrook Elementary School, 20 miles from Miller's farm. As their FBI escort vehicle pulled into the empty parking lot at 11 p.m., Maya felt her heart racing. The school building loomed dark against the night sky, its playground equipment casting strange shadows in the security lights. Rex was alert in the back seat, his nose already working as they approached the building. Detective Webb sat beside him, checking and rechecking his equipment. Agent Chen had given Webb a tactical vest and radio, transforming him back into the police officer he'd been 3 years ago. Remember, Webb said to Maya as they parked, Rex is trained to signal when he finds explosives. He'll sit and point with his nose toward the device. When he does that, we back away immediately and call in the bomb squad. Ethan had fallen asleep during the drive, curled up against Maya's side. She hated the idea of bringing him into potential danger, but Webb was right. Rex worked better when his family was nearby. How will we know if the device is on a timer? Maya asked. We won't, Webb admitted. But based on the intelligence Dr. Kane gathered, all the devices are set to detonate simultaneously at 2 p.m. tomorrow. That gives us 15 hours. They approached the school's main entrance, where the principal waited with 2 FBI agents. The principal, Mrs. Henderson, looked exhausted and terrified. I've been here since 6 p.m., going through every room with your people, she told Webb. We haven't found anything unusual. That's because you don't know what to look for, Webb replied gently. Rex does. They entered the building, and immediately Rex's behavior changed. His ears perked up, and he began moving with purpose down the main hallway. Maya carried the sleeping Ethan, following closely behind Webb and the FBI agents. Rex led them through the cafeteria, past several classrooms, and finally stopped at the gymnasium. The large space was empty except for basketball hoops and some folded bleachers. Rex began sniffing around the edges of the room, his tail low with concentration. Suddenly, Rex sat down and pointed his nose toward the base of the bleachers. Found it, Webb said quietly into his radio. The bomb squad arrived within minutes. Using their robot, they discovered a device about the size of a lunchbox, carefully hidden in the metal framework of the bleachers. Maya felt sick thinking about how many children sat on those bleachers every day. It's the same type as the one from the park, the bomb squad leader reported. Homemade but sophisticated. We can disarm it, but it'll take time. How much time? Webb asked. 2 hours, maybe 3. We need to be careful. There might be anti-tampering devices. Webb looked at his watch. We have 11 more locations to hit. We can't stay here that long. Agent Chen's voice crackled over the radio. Team 2 just found their device at Sunset Mall. Same type, hidden in the food court. Team 3 is still searching the community center. Maya watched Rex as the bomb squad worked. The dog seemed restless, like he wanted to keep searching. Webb, I think Rex knows there's more. Webb knelt down next to Rex. What is it, boy? Is there another one? Rex stood up and walked toward the school's main office. He moved with the same focused intensity as before, his nose to the ground. In the principal's office, Rex sat down again and pointed toward the filing cabinets. There's a second device, Webb announced. Mrs. Henderson looked like she might faint. But why would they put 2 bombs in one school? Insurance, Webb said grimly. If the bomb squad finds one, they might not look for a second. The discovery of multiple devices at one location changed everything. Agent Chen's voice came over the radio again, this time with urgent news from the other teams. All locations report the same thing, multiple devices at each site. We're looking at 26 bombs total, not 13. Maya felt the ground shift beneath her feet. 26? Webb's face was grim as he coordinated with the other teams. The Crimson Dawn planned this down to the last detail. Multiple devices ensure maximum damage, even if some are found and disarmed. As they left Meadowbrook Elementary with both devices secured, Maya noticed that Ethan was awake and unusually quiet. Her 5-year-old son was watching everything with wide, serious eyes. "Mommy," Ethan whispered, "the bad people are really bad, aren't they?" "Yes, sweetheart, they are. But Rex and Detective Webb are going to stop them." "And us too," Ethan said with surprising firmness. "We're helping too." Their next location was Riverside Shopping Center, the largest mall in the county. Even at midnight, the parking lot felt ominous under the bright security lights. Rex was immediately alert as they approached the main entrance. Inside, the empty mall felt like a ghost town. Store gates were pulled down, and their footsteps echoed in the vast corridors. Rex began his search methodically, moving from store to store with practiced efficiency. The first device was hidden in a trash bin near the children's play area. The second was tucked behind a bench in the central atrium. But when Rex led them to the food court, Maya realized the true scope of the horror they were trying to prevent. Rex found not 1, not 2, but 4 devices hidden throughout the food court area. Each one was positioned to maximize casualties during the lunch rush that would happen in 14 hours. "My God," Webb muttered as the bomb squad marked each location. "They're not just trying to kill people. They're trying to destroy any sense of safety in public spaces." Agent Chen's updates from the other locations painted an equally grim picture. Community centers, parks, schools, and shopping areas across 3 states, all with multiple explosive devices hidden where families gathered. But it was at their 3rd location that everything changed. Sunset Community Park was supposed to be their easiest search, a small neighborhood park with a playground and a few benches. But when Rex began his sweep, his behavior was different. Instead of his usual methodical search pattern, he seemed agitated, almost frantic. "Something's wrong," Maya observed. "Rex is acting strange." Webb watched his partner carefully. He's not just detecting explosives. He's detecting something else. Rex led them to a maintenance shed near the playground. The door was unlocked, which immediately raised red flags for the FBI agents accompanying them. Inside, they found something that made Webb's blood run cold. Communication equipment, maps of all the target locations, and surveillance photos of Rex with Maya and Ethan at various locations around town over the past 3 years. "They've been watching you," Agent Chen said over the radio when Webb reported the discovery. "The Crimson Dawn has been tracking Rex since you put him in that shelter." Maya felt sick. "For how long?" Webb examined the photos more carefully. Some were dated just weeks after Maya had adopted Rex. "They've known where he was almost the entire time."
"Then why didn't they take him?" Maya asked.
"Because they needed him to find their test device," Webb realized. They wanted to see if his training was still intact after 3 years as a family pet. Among the equipment, they found something even more disturbing. A laptop with detailed files on Maya's daily routine, Ethan's school schedule, and even Maya's work shifts at the hospital. "They know everything about us," Maya whispered, holding Ethan closer. But Webb was staring at something else on the laptop screen. "Maya, look at this." The screen showed a live feed from a security camera. The image was dark, but Maya could make out familiar shapes. The playground equipment at Riverside Park, where this nightmare had all started. "They're watching the park right now," Webb said, "even though it's the middle of the night." Agent Chen's voice crackled over the radio with urgent news. "Webb, we've got a problem. Dr. Kane just intercepted a communication. The timeline has changed." "What do you mean?" "The attacks aren't scheduled for 2 p.m. anymore. They've been moved up to 6 a.m. during the morning rush hour at the schools and shopping centers." Maya looked at her watch. It was 2:30 a.m. That's only 3.5 hours from now. "And there's more," Agent Chen continued. "The communication mentioned a final cleansing at the original site. They're planning something special for Riverside Park." Webb's face went pale. "The Youth Soccer League has early morning practice on Saturdays. There will be dozens of kids and parents there by 7 a.m. Maya felt like the walls were closing in around them. "What are we going to do?" Before Webb could answer, Rex began barking frantically. Not his usual alert bark, but something urgent and warning. He was staring out the window of the maintenance shed toward the parking lot. "Someone's here," Webb whispered, drawing his weapon. Through the window, Maya could see movement in the darkness. Figures were approaching the park, and they weren't law enforcement. These people moved like they didn't want to be seen. "How many?" one of the FBI agents whispered into his radio. "I count 4, maybe 5, came the response from the surveillance team positioned outside the park. Webb made a decision. "Maya, take Ethan to the vehicle. Rex and I are going to find out what they're doing here." "No," Maya said firmly. "We stay together. Rex works better when we're all here. It's too dangerous." "Everything about this is dangerous, but Rex saved my son's life yesterday, and I'm not abandoning him now." As they watched from the maintenance shed, the figures in the darkness began moving toward the playground. Rex was still agitated, but now his focus was laser sharp on whatever was happening outside. One of the FBI agents spoke quietly into his radio. "They're planting something near the swing set." Webb's radio crackled with Agent Chen's voice. "All teams, be advised. We just got intelligence that the Crimson Dawn is implementing their backup plan. They know we found most of their devices." "What backup plan?" Webb asked. "If their coordinated attack fails, they're going to detonate everything at once, including any devices we haven't found yet." Maya felt terror grip her heart. "What does that mean?" "It means," Webb said grimly, "that we're not just racing against time anymore. We're racing against people who would rather kill everyone than let their plan fail." Outside the maintenance shed, the dark figures finished their work and melted back into the shadows. But Rex was still staring at the playground, his body tense with anticipation. "They left something behind," Webb said, "something Rex can detect." As dawn approached and their time ran out, Maya realized that the nightmare was far from over. The Crimson Dawn had been one step ahead of them from the beginning, and now they were preparing for a final, desperate gambit that could cost hundreds of lives. But the most terrifying thought was this. If they'd been watching Maya's family for 3 years, what else did they know? And what other surprises were waiting for them at Riverside Park? The clock was ticking towards 6 a.m., and Maya had a horrible feeling that their race against time was about to become something much more personal and deadly. What do you think the Crimson Dawn is really planning for their final attack, and how far would you go to protect innocent children? At 5:15 a.m., as the first hints of dawn painted the sky gray, Maya found herself back where this nightmare had begun, Riverside Park. But now, the familiar playground looked like a war zone preparation site. FBI vehicles surrounded the perimeter, bomb squad trucks stood ready, and agents in tactical gear moved through the shadows like ghosts. Rex had been restless during the 20-minute drive from Sunset Community Park. He kept looking out the window, whining softly, as if he knew they were heading towards something significant. Now, as they approached the park's main entrance, his entire body was tense with anticipation. "The youth soccer teams usually start arriving around 6:30, Detective Webb said, checking his watch. "We have about an hour before this place fills with families." Agent Chen met them at the command post that had been set up in the parking lot. Her face was drawn with exhaustion and stress. "We've got a problem, a big one." "What now?" Webb asked. "Dr. Kane intercepted another communication 20 minutes ago. The device they planted here tonight, it's not like the others." Maya felt her stomach drop. "What do you mean?" "The others were designed to detonate on a timer. This one has a remote trigger. Someone is going to be here, watching, waiting for the right moment to set it off. Webb's face went grim. So, even if we find and disarm the device, they can still activate it manually. Worse than that, Agent Chen continued, the communication mentions something about the final witness. They want someone specific to see what happens here. Maya looked down at Rex, who was staring intently at the playground. They want us here, don't they? They want Rex to see this. I think they want more than that, Webb said quietly. I think they want to eliminate the one witness who could identify their bomb-making signature in future attacks. As they talked, Maya noticed Ethan had woken up and was listening to every word with the serious expression that had become too familiar over the past 24 hours. Are the bad people here now? Ethan asked. We don't know, sweetheart, Maya said, but Rex's behavior suggested otherwise. The German Shepherd was pulling toward the playground, his nose working overtime, but his body language was different from his usual search behavior. This wasn't just about finding explosives, this was personal. He recognizes something, Webb observed, or someone. They approached the playground carefully, with bomb squad technicians scanning every piece of equipment. Rex led them directly to the swing set where Ethan had been playing just yesterday, the same swing set where this entire nightmare had begun. But Rex didn't sit and point like he had at the previous locations. Instead, he began circling the area, his nose to the ground, following some invisible trail. He's tracking a scent, Webb said. Someone specific. Rex's path led away from the playground toward a cluster of trees at the edge of the park. The same trees where Thomas Garrett had hidden when he tried to shoot them yesterday. But as they followed Rex deeper into the wooded area, Maya realized they weren't alone. A figure stepped out from behind a large oak tree. Maya's heart stopped as she recognized him from the photos Agent Chen had shown her. But this wasn't Thomas Garrett. It was Dr. Kane's former partner from her cybersecurity firm, a man named David Pierce. Maya had seen his picture in the files, but Dr. Kane had told them he'd died in a car accident 2 years ago. Hello, Rex, David said calmly. I've been waiting for you. Webb immediately drew his weapon, but David raised his hands to show he was unarmed. I'm not here to hurt anyone, David said. I'm here to finish what Emma and I started 3 years ago. Dr. Kane said you were dead, Maya said, confused. Emma thinks I'm dead. I let her believe that after the car accident. It was easier than explaining why I had to go underground. Agent Chen's voice crackled over Webb's radio. We've got movement in the woods, multiple suspects approaching from the north. David's expression changed instantly. They found me. We need to move, now. Who found you? Webb demanded, his weapon still trained on David. The real Crimson Dawn leadership, the people Thomas Garrett was working for. David looked directly at Maya. They don't just want to stop Rex. They want to eliminate everyone who knows the truth about their organization. Rex was still agitated, but now he was focused on the sounds coming from deeper in the woods. His training had kicked in. He knew danger was approaching. Where's the device? Webb asked David. There isn't one, David said. Not here. The device they planted last night was a decoy. Maya felt the blood drain from her face. What? The real attack isn't happening here. It's happening where you'll never expect it, where Rex can't detect it because it's not their usual explosive compound. Agent Chen's voice came over the radio again, urgent and frightened. All teams, we have a problem. The other locations, the devices we found and disarmed, they weren't the real bombs. They were decoys, too. Webb stared at David. Where are the real devices? Think about it, David said. Where would cause the most panic? Where would create the most fear? Not parks or schools or malls. Somewhere that would make people afraid to seek help when they needed it most. Maya's nursing background made the connection first. Hospitals. The Crimson Dawn has been planning this for 5 years, not 3, David explained, as sounds of pursuit grew closer in the woods. They've been placing people in positions at hospitals across 3 states. Janitors, maintenance workers, even some medical staff. Webb's radio erupted with chatter from Agent Chen. Hospital bomb threats being called in across the region. St. Mary's, General Hospital, Children's Medical Center, at least 8 facilities. But how? Maya asked. Hospital security is too tight. Not if you're already on the inside, David said grimly. Not if you've been working there for years, building trust, waiting for the right moment. The realization hit Maya like a physical blow. I work at St. Mary's. I could have been working alongside them for years and never known. That's exactly what they were counting on. David said. Medical facilities trust their employees. No one suspects the night janitor or the maintenance supervisor. Agent Chen's voice cut through the radio static. Maya, I need you to think carefully. At your hospital, have you noticed anyone acting strangely over the past few weeks? Anyone asking unusual questions about security procedures or evacuation protocols? Maya's mind raced through recent interactions with coworkers. Then she remembered something that had seemed odd at the time, but hadn't raised any red flags. Jake Morrison, she said suddenly. He's in maintenance. Last week he asked me about the ventilation system on the pediatric ward. Said he was doing routine inspections, but it seems strange because those inspections usually happen during the day shift. Maya, Jake Morrison doesn't exist, Agent Chen's voice came back immediately. We just ran his employee ID. The person working under that name started at your hospital 18 months ago with forged credentials. The sounds of pursuit in the woods were getting closer. David grabbed Webb's arm. We need to get to St. Mary's now. If they're targeting the pediatric ward, they're planning something unspeakable. Why should we trust you? Webb demanded. Because 3 years ago, I was the one who helped Emma save Rex's life, and because right now, I'm the only one who knows how to stop what's about to happen. Rex suddenly barked sharply, his warning bark. Through the trees, Maya could see figures approaching with weapons drawn, but these weren't FBI agents. Run, David said urgently. They're not here to arrest anyone. They're here to eliminate witnesses. As they raced back toward the parking lot, Maya could hear gunfire erupting behind them in the woods. The FBI agents who had been positioned around the park were engaging with the approaching suspects. How many people are involved in this? Maya asked as they reached the vehicles. More than you can imagine, David said, climbing into the FBI vehicle with them. The Crimson Dawn isn't just a terrorist cell. It's a network that's been infiltrating critical infrastructure for years. Agent Chen's voice came over the radio with devastating news. Multiple hospitals are reporting suspicious activity. Children's Medical Center just found an explosive device in their neonatal intensive care unit. Maya felt sick. Premature babies, fighting for their lives, being used as targets by monsters who called themselves patriots. How long do we have? Webb asked. The hospitals will start evacuating, but moving critically ill patients takes time, Agent Chen responded. And if the devices are in the HVAC systems like we suspect, evacuation might not be enough. Rex was sitting perfectly still in the vehicle, but Maya could sense his tension. The dog understood that something terrible was about to happen, and every instinct he'd been trained to follow was telling him to act. As they raced toward St. Mary's Hospital, Maya realized that everything they'd experienced over the past 24 hours had been leading to this moment. The device under the park bench hadn't been the beginning of the attack. It had been the end of a much longer and more sophisticated plan. David, Maya said, when you said you and Dr. Kane started something 3 years ago, what did you mean? David was quiet for a moment, then pulled out a small device that looked like a smartphone. We discovered the Crimson Dawn wasn't just planning attacks on soft targets. They were planning to attack the medical infrastructure itself. Why? Because if people can't trust hospitals, if they're afraid to seek medical care, society starts to break down from the inside. It's psychological warfare designed to create long-term fear and instability. Webb looked at the device in David's hands. What is that? A signal jammer that Emma and I developed. It can interrupt the remote detonation signals for their devices, but only if we can get close enough to the source. Where's the source? That's what we need Rex to find. The Crimson Dawn's main communication hub is hidden somewhere in St. Mary's Hospital. It's been broadcasting coordination signals to cells across 3 states. As they pulled into the hospital parking lot, Maya could see the evacuation already beginning. Ambulances were lined up to transport the most critical patients to other facilities, and medical staff were moving with the controlled urgency that she recognized from her own training. But Rex was more alert than Maya had ever seen him. The moment they stepped out of the vehicle, he was pulling toward the hospital's main entrance with single-minded determination. He knows something, Webb said. Rex, what is it? The German Shepherd led them not toward the main hospital building, but toward a smaller auxiliary building that housed maintenance facilities and administrative offices. As they approached, Rex's behavior became even more focused. The signal is coming from in there, David said, checking his device. But, Maya, I need to tell you something. The person coordinating all of this, the real leader of the Crimson Dawn, it's someone you know. Maya felt her world tilt again. What do you mean? The night shift supervisor at your hospital, Patricia Wells. She's been using her position to gather intelligence on hospital security systems for 5 years. Maya's legs nearly gave out. Patricia Wells had been her mentor when she'd started working at St. Mary's. The older woman had helped Maya adjust to the demanding schedule, had covered for her when Ethan was sick, had been like a second mother to her. That's impossible, Maya whispered. I'm sorry, David said gently, but Patricia Wells is the one who has been coordinating the infiltration of medical facilities across 3 states. She's also the one who has been tracking Rex through your work schedule. As Rex led them toward the auxiliary building, Maya realized that her quiet life hadn't just been disrupted. It had been a lie from the very beginning. The people she'd trusted, the place where she'd worked to save lives, had been compromised by those who wanted to destroy the very foundation of care and safety. But the most terrifying realization was still to come. As they approached the building where Rex was leading them, Maya saw a familiar figure standing in the doorway, waiting for them with a sad smile. It was Patricia Wells, and she was holding a device that looked exactly like the one David carried. Hello, Maya, Patricia said calmly. I've been waiting for you to bring Rex home. Will Maya be able to stop the woman who was like a mother to her? And can Rex save the lives of innocent children one more time? Standing in the doorway of the auxiliary building, Patricia Wells looked exactly like the compassionate nurse supervisor Maya had known for 3 years. Her graying hair was pulled back in the same neat bun. Her scrubs were pressed and clean, and her eyes held the same warmth that had comforted Maya through countless difficult shifts. But now Maya saw something else in those eyes, a cold determination that made her blood freeze. Patricia, Maya whispered, please tell me this isn't real. Oh, it's very real, honey, Patricia said, her voice carrying the same gentle tone she'd used when teaching Maya how to handle difficult patients. I've been planning this moment for 5 years. Rex was trembling beside Maya, not with fear, but with barely contained energy. His training was screaming at him to act, but his connection to Maya held him back. Webb had his weapon drawn, but Patricia made no threatening moves. You don't understand, Patricia continued, stepping aside to reveal the interior of the building. This isn't about terrorism. This is about revolution. Inside, Maya could see banks of computer equipment, monitors displaying feeds from hospitals across 3 states, and communication devices that were coordinating something much larger than she'd imagined. David stepped forward with his signal jamming device, but Patricia held up her hand. I wouldn't do that, David. You're still as impulsive as ever. Maya's mind reeled. You know, David? David Pierce was my student before he was Emma's partner, Patricia said with a sad smile. I taught him everything he knows about cybersecurity, including how to fake his own death. David's face went pale. Patricia, you were supposed to be dead. The car accident
Was staged just like yours. The difference is, I used my death to go deeper underground, while you used yours to play hero.
Agent Chen's voice crackled over Webb's radio, but Patricia held up a device that looked like a signal blocker. I'm afraid Agent Chen can't hear you right now. We're in a communications dead zone. Webb kept his weapon trained on Patricia, but Maya could see the confusion in his eyes. What do you want? I want Rex to do what he was trained to do, Patricia said simply. I want him to find the real threat. Maya looked at Rex, who was staring at Patricia with an intensity that seemed almost human. What real threat? The threat that Detective Webb has been hiding from you for 3 years, Patricia said. The truth about why Rex was really separated from his handler. Webb's face went white. Patricia, don't. Rex wasn't just trained to detect explosives, Maya. He was trained to detect something much more specific, a chemical compound that only one person in law enforcement had access to. Maya felt the world shifting beneath her feet again. What are you saying? I'm saying that Detective Marcus Webb was never the hero in this story. He was the one supplying the Crimson Dawn with the materials they needed to build their bombs. The words hit Maya like a physical blow. She looked at Webb, whose weapon was now wavering in his hands. That's impossible, Maya said. Webb has been helping us stop the attacks. Has he? Patricia asked gently. Or has he been making sure you found exactly what he wanted you to find? David stepped forward, his signal jamming device still in his hands. Patricia, if that's true, then everything you've been doing has been exactly what Marcus planned, including bringing Rex here to me. Rex suddenly broke from Maya's side and approached Patricia, But instead of attacking or alerting, he sat down at her feet and looked up at her with what Maya could only describe as recognition. "Rex knows, don't you, boy?" Patricia said, reaching down to pet the German shepherd's head. "You remember me from before." Maya's voice was barely a whisper. Before what? Before Marcus Webb shot his own partner and blamed it on the Crimson Dawn. Before he used Rex's training to help terrorists build better bombs. Before he killed my daughter. The revelation hit Maya like lightning. "Your daughter?" Officer Sarah Wells, Rex's original handler, Marcus Webb's partner. Patricia's voice broke slightly. The woman he murdered when she discovered he was working with domestic terrorists. Webb's weapon was shaking now. "Patricia, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly," Patricia said, her voice hardening. "I understand that you killed my daughter because she found evidence of your involvement with the Crimson Dawn. I understand that you stole Rex and created this elaborate charade to cover your tracks." Maya looked at Webb, seeing him clearly for the first time. "Is it true?" Webb's silence was answer enough. "The real detective Marcus Webb died in that ambush 3 years ago," Patricia continued. "The man you've been trusting is Thomas Garrett, Marcus Webb's partner, who assumed his identity after killing him." The world exploded around Maya as everything she thought she knew crumbled. The man who had been helping them, the man she'd trusted with her son's life, was actually the corrupt partner they'd been hunting. "Rex knew," Patricia said softly. "That's why he was so agitated around Webb. Dogs don't forget the scent of their handler's killer." David raised his signal jamming device. "If Garrett has been coordinating the attacks, then we need to stop the signal now." "No," Patricia said firmly. "If you jam the signal now, all the devices will detonate immediately as a failsafe. We need to do this carefully." Garrett, the man Maya had known as Webb, finally spoke. "You can't stop what's already in motion, Patricia. The devices are set to detonate in 15 minutes, regardless of the signal." "Actually," Patricia said with a cold smile, "they're not, because there are no devices in any of the hospitals." Maya felt her head spinning. "What?" "The real attack was never about the hospitals. It was about getting Rex here, to this building, so I could finally prove what really happened to my daughter." Patricia pressed a button on one of the computer monitors, and suddenly Agent Chen's voice filled the room, through speakers. "All teams, this is Agent Chen. We've completed searches of all 8 hospitals. No explosive devices found. Repeat, no explosive devices found." Garrett's face contorted with rage. "You played me." "I played everyone," Patricia said sadly. "Including you, Maya. I'm sorry you and Ethan got caught up in this, but it was the only way to expose the truth." Maya felt anger rising in her chest. "You put my son in danger for revenge? I put your son in the safest place possible, with Rex. Do you think it was an accident that you adopted him? Do you think it was coincidence that I arranged for you to work the shifts where you'd be too tired to ask questions about why I was accessing security systems?" The pieces were falling into place with horrible clarity. "You've been manipulating everything from the beginning." "I've been seeking justice for my murdered daughter," Patricia said firmly, "and now I have it." Rex suddenly stood up and moved away from Patricia, positioning himself between her and Maya. The dog's loyalty was clear. Regardless of the past, his family was Maya and Ethan. "Patricia," David said carefully, "if there are no bombs, what was the device under the park bench?" "Evidence," Patricia said simply. "Evidence of Thomas Garrett's communications with terrorist cells, evidence of his involvement in Sarah's murder, and evidence that would finally expose the truth." Agent Chen's voice came through the speakers again. "We've found the real communication hub. It's in an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. Multiple arrests being made." Garrett laughed bitterly. "You think this ends anything? The Crimson Dawn is bigger than you know. There are cells in every state. People in positions of power you'd never suspect." "I know," Patricia said quietly. "Including you." Suddenly, Ethan's voice cut through the tension. "Mommy, why is the bad man pretending to be the policeman?" Maya realized her 5-year-old son had been listening to everything, understanding more than any child should have to. But his innocent question had cut to the heart of everything. "Because sometimes bad people pretend to be good people, sweetheart," Maya said, kneeling down to hug him. "But Rex always knew," Ethan said with the simple wisdom of childhood. "Dogs can't lie." Patricia smiled sadly at Ethan. "That's exactly right, sweetheart. Dogs can't lie. Agent Chen's voice came through the speakers one final time. Patricia Wells, this is Agent Chen. We have the building surrounded. Please come out with your hands visible. Patricia sighed and looked at the computer equipment around them. I suppose my work here is done. She pressed a final button, and all the monitors went dark. What did you just do? David asked. I sent every piece of evidence about the real Crimson Dawn network to the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and the media. Everything about Thomas Garrett, everything about the infiltration of law enforcement, everything about my daughter's murder. As FBI agents entered the building, Patricia knelt down next to Rex one last time. Take care of your family, boy. You've got a good one. Rex nuzzled Patricia's hand gently, as if he understood that she'd been fighting for justice, not revenge. As Garrett was arrested and led away in handcuffs, Maya finally understood the full scope of what had happened. There had been no terrorist attack planned for that day. There had been an elaborate sting operation designed to expose corruption within law enforcement and prevent future attacks. But the cost had been enormous. Patricia Wells would face charges for her deception, even though her motives had been justice for her murdered daughter. Dr. Emma Kane would have to testify about her role in the conspiracy, and Maya would have to live with the knowledge that her quiet life had been built on carefully constructed lies. 3 months later, Maya sat on the same bench in Riverside Park where this story had begun. Ethan was playing on the swings, laughing with the pure joy of a child who had forgotten the darkness he'd witnessed. Rex lay at Maya's feet, alert but peaceful, back to being a family dog but never quite able to forget his training. The trials had ended. Thomas Garrett was serving multiple life sentences for terrorism, murder, and conspiracy. Patricia Wells had received a reduced sentence in exchange for her cooperation in exposing the Crimson Dawn network. Dr. Emma Kane had been cleared of all charges and was working with the FBI to prevent future infiltrations. But the biggest change was in Maya herself. She'd returned to work at St. Mary's Hospital, but now she saw everything differently. She understood that evil could hide behind familiar faces, that good people sometimes made terrible choices, and that heroes came in unexpected forms. "Mommy," Ethan called from the swings, "can we stay here forever?" Maya smiled, watching her son play under Rex's protective gaze. "We can stay as long as you want, baby." Because sometimes, after surviving a nightmare, the most radical thing you can do is simply live a normal life. And sometimes, the greatest victory is realizing that home isn't a place. It's the people and animals who love you enough to fight for you, no matter what. Rex looked up at Maya with those intelligent brown eyes, and she could swear she saw a message there. We're safe now. We're home. And for the first time in months, Maya truly believed it. What moment in this story shocked you the most? Share this incredible tale. If you believe in the power of loyalty, subscribe for more amazing stories, and comment below about your own experiences with unexpected heroes. Where are you watching from?